I've been rocking these Hecate G2000 speakers in my setup for a long time, but thanks to Edifier, it's finally time for an upgrade. And these are what's replacing them, the Edifier R1380Ts. Right away, you'll notice how large these new speakers are. They tower over my outgoing G2000s, which means I'll need to rework my monitor layout a bit to accommodate their size, but I'll get to that later. For now, let's take a closer look at their design, dimensions, and build quality. The R1380Ts come in 3 colors, a wood grain brown, a wood grain black, and white, which actually has a fine orange peel texture. The side panels are definitely plastic, but compared to the wood grain options, I think this looks more modern, especially with the 3D geometric design. And the white and gray fabric cover will pop more in my setup compared to their predecessor. That is if I decide to keep the cover on. The fabric covers can be removed if you prefer the look of the exposed speaker components. As for dimensions, the R1380Ts are 9.5 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and 7 1/4 inches deep without the cords plugged in and jutting from the back. Meanwhile, build quality feels excellent. Panels are all aligned and rattle-free, the speakers arrived without damage to corners, and the materials themselves, while plastic and MDF wood, don't feel cheap and thin. And the knobs on the side that control treble, bass, and volume feel premium as well. Treble and bass knobs offer a smooth resistance, while the volume knob is easier to turn, albeit with bump feedback. On the back of the speakers, you'll find your inputs, with the active speaker housing line in 1 and line in 2, as well as the power switch, power cable, and positive and negative connectors to the passive speaker. But before hooking it up, I need to find a way to make it fit into the setup without ruining the aesthetic. For starters, this fake plant has to go. Not because I don't like it in the setup anymore, but because my fat ragdoll Makoto likes to sneak into my setup late at night and chew on the plastic blades. And over the years, he's really mangled the poor thing. The next task involves moving my second monitor. Sounds easy enough, but just pushing it back isn't enough. The placement feels awkward and looks worse. I also don't like the monitor arm being so obvious, so I gotta move the monitor arm to get a better angle, which is a bigger pain in the butt than it sounds because my cable management in this setup is, well, it's ass. Once I created a bigger mess for my future self, I found the monitor arm a new home on the adjacent corner of my desk, so I reinstalled the monitor and found the perfect position for it. And I gotta say, with both speakers in their new homes, I really like the updated look and layout of the setup. And just like I thought, the white and gray speakers really pop. So now that I know they fit, it's time to set them up. In the box, Edifier supplies you with 2 sets of input cables, RCA to RCA cable for connecting to an amplifier or a stereo receiver, and a 3.5mm to RCA cable for connecting to personal devices, music players, or PCs. So this is what I'll be using. Also included in the box are the speaker connector cables. First, I'll wire up the connector cables, then the input. I'm using input line 1. It may be worth noting Edifier rates input line 1 with 750 plus or minus 50 megavolts versus line in 2 with 550 plus or minus 50 megavolts. Now that that's all wired up, I'll push the cords out of sight and out of mind for the time being, and return the R1380T speakers to their new home to test out the sound.
I'm on fire!
and my initial response from the sound quality is very impressed. This is coming from someone who is definitely not an audiophile. That being said, these are a definite upgrade over the smaller G2000s, which I already thought sounded great, but these sound loads better. The bass is so much deeper, and with the dial there's more to work with, or dial down. Having a treble control is a big plus as well, especially when turned up vocals are noticeably richer. The R1380Ts can get really loud too, louder than I'll ever need them to be for gaming purposes, which means while these are perfect to use in gaming setups, they're also ideal for larger rooms and for more rambunctious gatherings. For instance, I think the audio would be loud and clear enough to match a party's energy. So it should come as no surprise that I highly recommend these speakers for consideration. Not only does the sound improve immersion in gaming or videos, but aesthetically the speakers look fantastic, and that's even without RGB or infinity mirrors like some of its competition. At some point, I might purchase some stands for these, but in the meantime, I'm happy how they look. So if you're interested in the R1380T speakers, you can check them out for yourself at edifier.com or Amazon. I'll include links in the description. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any gaming setup content or tech reviews like this. Thanks so much for watching. Later.